All right, the regular meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. The regular council agenda for July 14th, 2025 was accepted with the following changes. Addition of 5.4, request for decision on decorative crosswalk. You will have seen that it was actually in the agenda package. We just didn't have it marked on the actual agenda. Item 6.1.1, the Town of Hinton Child Care Motion to Alberta municipalities. And item 7.2, Municipal Enforcement ATIA, Section 29, Advice from officials. Could I have a motion to accept the agenda with those changes? Councillor Mitchell, all in favor? Motion carries. All right, we'll get right into our reports and we'll start with Neil. The status report. Was there anything you wanted to highlight, Neil?
Just that there's a couple of items on here that are under discussion on tonight's agenda. I think that's really it.
Does anyone have any questions on the status report? Not seeing any. The capital plan status, Neil?
Capital works are proceeding fairly well at this point in time. We got some good news last week that the wastewater treatment plant capital works will probably occur in August, late August, but better than what we were initially thinking. Other than that, no, Public Works and utilities have been fairly busy with a number of this year's projects, and we're shortly going to be going out to bid for the rain garden project at Mile 56 Park as well.
That's great news about the wastewater treatment plant. What is that? That's about 6 months ahead of schedule? Like I thought it was like next spring.
Yeah, it's back to being roughly what we were hoping. We were worried for a while it was going to be late, but we don't have a ETA yet on the membranes, but again, we hope it'll be towards the end of this year.
Great. Any questions regarding the capital plan? Not seeing any. We'll go to your monthly report.
So current issues, we were happy to hear that about that information regarding the wastewater treatment plant. If council has any specific items they would like to see in agendas, given how few meetings we've got left in the term, please contact administration or the mayor as soon as possible so we can work towards that in August or September. In terms of the manager of operations, he's on vacation in August as well when the next meeting occurs. But my goal is to have him here for early September for updates and questions on various projects and issues. Personnel and professional development. I wanted to highlight that Daniel Doyon has achieved his level 1 operator certification and has been duly promoted to level 1 utility operator. Carmen Garreau has been promoted to the new administrative support 2 classification. And Donna Richter has retired and will be much missed. We have opted to fill the office staff vacancy with an entry-level front office clerk opportunity, which is currently being posted. In terms of bylaws and policies, administration is looking into whether some amendments to the traffic bylaw are necessary at this time. We've had some interesting discussions with various stakeholders, usually around trucks and heavy vehicles. And I may bring something forward and it may be for the next council term, but we're doing some research right now on it. Additionally, we've made some inquiries about dangerous goods traffic. Again, we were contacted by a member of the public, and the DEM, Director of Emergency Management, is also looking into whether there should be any regulations in that area. Those would, of course, require ministerial approval. That's it for now.
Does anyone have any questions? Not seeing any. The strategic plan update, Neil?
So this quarter, I added a little bit of a box up front. It's a little bit arbitrary, but I wanted to try and make the progress and priority a little bit more of a feature of these quarterly reports. So the top 5 priority areas, largely as administration sees them right now, are IT hardware and software needs. We've just changed, and that's largely because we've just changed our contracted service provider. So there's a little bit of work to do there. Community and economic development, completing the work on the Mile 56 Park site plan and execution with partners. Again, that's a capitalized project for this year. Planning and development, the Nanton Northwest Area Structure Plan. Operations within capital priorities and preventative maintenance. Leak detection and mitigation is of the highest order right now, and a close second, of course, is the wastewater treatment plant. Emergency services, the Nanton Medical Clinic renewal remains top of mind. Key recommendations and issues. The regional water project is crawling along, admittedly, right now. The discovery of the absence of some anticipated longitudinal data for the High River wells in question has caused a significant delay around firm decision-making this spring. Key meetings are being scheduled. We had one just on Friday. The timing is impacted by the municipal elections, probably. But we are continuing to work on that and work with High River on what needs to be done to make the necessary progress. And there were the 2 resolutions from April regarding planning and development for Northern and Regional Economic Development Program for an area redevelopment plan, and under operations, the inclusion of a priority around zonal or neighborhood water metering systems and water audit. That's the highlights.
Does anyone have any questions, Councillor Miller?
Could you elaborate a little bit on what the longitudinal data is for High River? I'm a bit confused about what's missing and what that is.
Well, again, I'm a lay person on this as much as anybody, but the town of High River undertook a engineering study a good number of years ago with a company called Worley Parsons, and there were some assumptions made about the longitudinal monitoring data that had been established and set in place over a number of years monitoring those wells. And the more Applin Martin looked into it, and the more the town looked into it, the state of that data was very poor, and it hadn't been the data collection hadn't been continued in the way that had been anticipated. It's generating some issues because hydrologists, in order to have a level of confidence in modeling for those aquifers, needed that longitudinal data, or at least some do, in order to give a qualified answer as to the aquifer's health. So we're looking at a way to do that with qualified professionals responsibly without that longitudinal data right now.
So we're missing historical data then, is that it?
Yeah.
And they're going to try to determine its current status on a short track. So we're not going to have long-term information that we can rely on. Is that what's going to happen?
Well, there isn't the historic data that was anticipated, so it makes it harder to create a model for the future of the aquifer, and that's really what we're discussing, how to tackle that issue, because the health of the aquifer and some guarantees around that from modeling are kind of essential for the town of High River's comfort.
That was my next question. Where is High River Council and administration and operations on this?
Well, they're their prior resolution on it is still the same. It's unchanged. So they still want to see some modeling. So we're working with our consulting engineer to try and them to figure out what the appropriate way forward is.
But the modeling now that we're asking our consultant to do is outside of the original scope, is it not?
No, it was the modeling was always within scope, but there were assumptions made about what data was available. So we're having to try something a little different.
Okay. Will you have an update for us in September?
Yes.
For instance?
Yes, I'll keep council updated on it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. We'll go right to the accounts payable reports. Is there anything anybody had any questions about? Not seeing any. Corporate services managers report. Is there anything you wanted to highlight, Neil?
Just as I mentioned briefly earlier, the new IT provider Trinus Tech has started providing IT services to the town, and the initial onboarding is complete, but we're definitely having some teething issues around servers and systems right now. But at least we're in a quieter period after tax deadline. We collected approximately 95% of what was levied this year, and there's a little bit outstanding, as Clayton's indicated here. I think that those would be the key ones. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions? Not seeing any. Operations manager report. Is there anything you wanted to highlight there, Neil?
Just that we're still experiencing backups fairly quickly in weather conditions like this. It's I wouldn't say a white knuckle ride, but it's a nervous time for utilities at the moment. We are seeing the effects of water on a regular basis on the collection system, and I know the golf course is noticing these things too. There's a lot of groundwater down there, and it collects quickly. So right now they're staying on top of it. But yeah, we're looking at developing a drill plan with a hydrology company in the near future, and I'll be bringing probably a proposal to council likely in August or September, because while it's not budgeted, we don't necessarily think it would be appropriate to wait until next year to start that.
Mm-hmm. Any questions? Not seeing any questions. Recreation manager.
The kitchen renovation has been proceeding well, and an RFP will go out once the kitchen's complete for an operator ahead of the start of the hockey season. The swimming pool season has been going fairly well, and there's not been a great deal to report operationally on that. So congratulations to all the staff. We haven't had much to contend with there. That's about it for now.
Any questions? Councillor Zopp?
Thank you, Your Worship. So Neil, in social media, it was published, the pool was shut down because it was short-staffed.
Mm-hmm.
So is it short-staffed because too many people came to swim? Or is it?
No, it was staff calling in sick with half an hour notice.
Because I've heard from a couple of residents, they were actually quite annoyed about that, thinking the town is incompetent, not having the staff. Like, I'm wondering if better wording somehow could help in there.
No, that's definitely a difficult one to word appropriately, but that was unfortunately an unavoidable one. There was no real time to adjust anything.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. We'll go to the planning and development officer. Lots happening. Any questions? Not seeing any. Chief Dosman, is there anything you wanted to highlight? All right, any questions for Chief Dosman? Not seeing any. Peace officer report. Was there anything you wanted to highlight, Neil?
Just reflective that this is busy season from the peace officer's point of view for traffic and for complaints, and that's reflected in his report. He's been doing quite a bit across the board at the moment. He will be going for some training, hopefully in August, for some enhanced vehicle handling. I can't remember the name of the program exactly. Hopefully we'll get that sorted out. No, it's a fairly busy time for the peace officer in general.
Councillor Miller, or sorry, Councillor's office first. We'll go to Councillor Miller.
Okay, sorry, you caught me off guard there.
Yo-yo.
Go to Councillor Zoth and I'll figure out what I was gonna ask.
Councillor Zoth will let
you.
the birthday boy
Councillor
just
Miller.
catch his breath and go ahead, Councillor Zoth.
And the violation tickets, Neil, 5 tickets were issued for driving one way. I've seen more than 5 in a month, easy. I'm wondering if the town shouldn't write Alberta Transportation a letter, put up some signs at 533 coming from Vulcan and on the other side, because one sign this big is not doing the trick. And it's an Alberta transportation issue, not a town issue, but for the sake, something should be done because there's going to be terrible accident there one day. Thank you.
Councillor Miller, are you ready?
Thank you. Do we suppose that everyone in town realizes and understands that bylaw enforcement, particularly as it relates to residential property, is mostly complaint-based? And the reason I bring it up is because there's been comments on social media and on the street about untidy yards or trees or shrubs that overhang the sidewalks, and complaints that nothing is being done about it. But yet, in order for anything to be done about it, it's my understanding that the file has to be opened with bylaw. And if that's not happening, then the trees and shrubs in the untidy yard aren't going to be attended to. So I wonder if we could put out another notice, maybe with the next monthly letter or water letter or something, encouraging people, don't complain on social media because nobody reacts to that. But if you were to let administration and bylaw know, then hopefully we can get those untidy yards and trees and shrubs attended to.
Yes, and this is an annual thing. There's always the handful of individuals who do complain about something, and then there's the general compliance sweep that the peace officer does if we have time, if he has time, and he has done some general compliance sweeps and left notices on doors. But again, for us to take the next step, which is the enforcement side and bringing in contractors to clean up, that is kind of last resort activity, and it is quite time consuming if we have to go to that. But generally the public are pretty good at responding to the initial warning if we give them to them.
Indeed. So I guess if the homeowner or the landowner is notified that, look, there's a bylaw issue that you're subject to, and I would hate to see our peace officer having to drive up and down the streets looking for something to do. I'm sure he's got better things to do than that.
No, what we tend to do is make sure he does one or two sweeps like that a year. It's the same with snow. But the rest of the time it's complaint reactive. Generally, it wouldn't be a good use of a peace officer's time to have them
Right,
patrolling town, taking note of untidy lawns.
right. So back to my original question then, could we put some
No,
form
we'll
of
do that.
update or notification
Yeah.
out to the public? Okay, thank you.
And to add to that, as far as communicating and educating the public, I think it needs to come at every direction, every opportunity. So if we are seeing those posts on social media, or you're hearing it at the coffee shop, or someone knocked on your door to pick your ear, it's our job too to educate people and just keep reminding them, we need you to report this, and this is the process, and guide them through it so that they understand. And I find once they learn, then they start to tell their friends too that it's complaint based. So I think we all need to take that responsibility too. Okay, emergency management. Was there anything you wanted to highlight there, Neil?
Believe the dam is off at some training this week. Let's see if she's noted it here.
Yeah, Foothills Regional
Yeah.
Dam meeting.
Yeah. And we've got some of the latest employees signed up to start them on the ICS 100, and that's something we're doing as we update job descriptions across each department, as we're adding the ICS 200 requirement for training, so that we can maintain a broad, well-trained staff in this area, even though we'd only probably be able to run one shift, but in an actual emergency. But no, we're and the tabletop exercise has been rescheduled to the fall of 2025. That's right. So yeah.
All right, any questions? Not seeing any. So we're starting a new thing called Council Roundtable, which we find is a better way to really just understand what we're hearing around town, as well as the committees that we're involved in, and just kind of a bit of a verbal report for members of council and for other members to ask questions of them. So we'll start with myself. I actually started, and I know Councillor Mitchell does this as well for the golf course, recording a weekly update for netonradio.ca, and basically just a single topic every week. It's a 2-minute report. And as a matter of fact, I talked about what we don't know and how it's important for members of the public to reach out and make sure the town is aware of issues that they see or ideas that they might have. That was my report for last week that's currently live on the radio. So I think it's a really, I hope it's getting the reach, and but I think it's just another tool in our belt for communicating. I also attended the MD of Willow Creek open house that they held at the Bomber Command Museum for their residents, and had lunch with the Fort Macleod mayor, just checking in on what they're up to, especially in their industrial area. And I've been meeting people that have been reaching out that are considering running for council and just answering their questions that they might have. So that's all I've got to report. We'll go to Councillor Zopp, who also submitted a written report. And if you had anything roundtable wise that you'd like to discuss.
Attended the AGM down in Cardston, which was really good. Got some good information and discussion with I do not remember his name, the native chief. It was quite interesting, and quite an interesting attitude he has. A little more positive than what we normally think. Nothing spectacular out of Orsk meeting. The MD open house was pretty good. It'd been good if maybe all of council would have shown up for that. They had a few things good to say, so it was good though. That's it. plus the other things I did on my report.
Yeah, I attended the Alberta Southwest AGM as well in Cardston, and you're right. Yeah, he was just the newly elected chief for Siska, I believe. And yeah, and they've got some incredible exports that they're farming and sending to China, and it's doing incredibly well. And the Minister of Tourism, Immigration and Jobs, Minister Chow, was also there, and he had what was Jedi jobs? That's the Minister Jedi. It's jobs and yeah. Anyways, yeah, it was a good event for sure. Okay, we'll go to Councillor Miller.
Not a whole lot happened in the last month. I was absent for part of it, but a couple of things I did do. Had an impromptu meeting with the chair of Green Elevators, who briefed me on some of their exciting plans for the future. I won't go into any details, but it did sound pretty exciting, things that they're working on. And they seemed quite pleased with the fact that the gravel boardwalk is now in place and people can commute from the Vic parking lot to the gates of the grain elevators. And the board seemed pretty pleased with that. And I also had opportunity to work with some of our operations people to look at some of our building envelope issues and offer some suggestions, most of which have probably been ignored, but we'll see where that goes. And that's about all I have for this period.
Thank you. Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, similar to Councillor Miller's. Not that I didn't have anything to do, but I'm supposed to head to the Regional Services Commission, but then my pavers showed up at the golf course Monday morning, so I was kind of directing traffic all day. But read the reports, everything's fine at the landfill, still making money. Library just did their budget and or there's submitted their budget to the board. Had their picnic Sunday, which I was still not able to attend because I was at work. But other than that, just still meeting with people. And I've actually had a couple conversations with possible candidates. Just a lot of the questions, what it's like, what do you do? And when you tell me you read a lot of papers, you read a lot of reports, much like everybody knows. That's generally not the showstopper for everybody. The people I've talked to, that's not a large issue. So I think this election coming up, we may see some pretty strong candidates put their name in the hat, which is encouraging. So which is fine. And then just generally just out and about talking to people, mostly family. So still educating. So.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Sorensen.
Not a whole lot to of any importance this month. Just talking to people and seeing how they think things are going in town. Most people are fairly satisfied with the way things are going, so that's about it.
Thank you, Councillor Sorensen. Councillor Dosman.
Yeah, it's been busy in everything but council. We did, I wasn't able to attend actually the last couple Fresk meetings, but just catching up with the agenda and the minutes that have been sent to me. They're more financial stuff, their year-to-date stuff. They just finished their fiscal year, so everything is looking really good there from what I can see on paper. Contract negotiations and stuff, they are part of the HSAA, which is the health union. So their contract negotiations there for their dispatchers. Lots of updates and stuff for Next Gen 911 and some of the capabilities that's going to provide. We should start seeing something here fairly quickly, I think. End of August, I think, is when the date was. And then other than that, mostly the same thing with everybody else, getting stopped on the street, people asking questions about, council life and what it means and the time commitment and how much reading there's involved and meetings and committees and everything else. So just educating lots of people about how satisfying it is to be a counselor. So yeah, that's, I did. So that's about it. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, your enthusiasm shone through there. So, actually, one other thing that I forgot to mention was Neil and I sat in on a meeting about data centers and what that could look like for Nanton. There's actually a dedicated department in the province with the province focused on data centers around and what it takes. So there will be an information brief in the next month or so about what that could look like and if it's something that could be a fit for Nanton and what the size could be. This was a citizen initiative. They asked us to kind of just check it out and see what it could require. So we'll bring some more information back about that soon. Okay, we'll need a motion that all written reports as recorded on the agenda for July 14th, 2025 be received for information and filing. Councillor Dosman, all in favor? Motion carries. The councillors all having read the minutes, there being no errors, omissions, or corrections, the minutes of the regular meeting of the Council of the Town of Nanton held June 16th, 2025 were accepted as distributed. Who would like to make that motion? Councillor Miller. All in favor? Motion carries. Committee of the Whole, the councillors all having read the minutes, there being no errors, omissions, or corrections. The minutes of the Committee of the Whole of the Town of Nanton held June 23rd, 2025 were accepted as distributed. Councillor Sorensen. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to item 4.2.1, and this is the Alberta Municipalities Resolution Amendment. Neil?
So council's resolution for the Alberta Municipalities Convention in November received a seconder in the form of the Council of the Town of Innisfail. They did require, however, one minor amendment to the active clause, and it now reads as following. If council accepted, it is therefore resolved that Alberta municipalities advocate to the government of Alberta to either one, amend the Active Communities Initiative to make municipalities eligible and increase the budget for application, or two, create a new annual or biannual funding program for municipalities for municipalities that enables them to effectively leverage their available capital reserves and local partnerships for new and existing recreation infrastructure for the benefit of their communities. The key change was the term increase. Obviously, larger municipalities are looking for perhaps more generous funding packages than a smaller community would.
And so we would just need to approve that amendment.
Approve the amendment to the active clause, yes.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Councillor Dosman, you're good to make the motion. So let's move to revised resolution 133250616, the active clause to read as follows. It's therefore resolved that Alberta municipalities advocates to the government of Alberta to either amend the Active Communities Initiative to make municipalities eligible and increase the budget for application, or create a new annual or biannual funding program for municipalities that enable them to effectively leverage their available capital reserves and local partnerships for new existing recreation infrastructure to the benefit of their communities. Councillor Dosman has made that motion. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, item 5.1 is simply just an information brief around council remuneration and expenses policy. Neil?
So as requested, the Manager of Corporate Services provided some additional financial information for council for potential discussion or not. Just to underline what the averages might be for communities of our size or neighboring communities. it's still entirely up to council whether they want to change anything at this time.
Does anyone have any questions, comments? Councillor Sop?
Looked at it in over the course of last 3.5 years. When we don't take an adjustment, pretty soon there will be a big adjustment, and I'm against that idea. I prefer what's been mentioned about a consumer price index adjustment on an annual basis to keep up with inflation. We don't want to make less, and I think that's the only way to guard it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments around what's in front of us? Councillor Mitchell?
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, if you want to do an annual raise. But this isn't our main job. This isn't how we make our money. So I'm not sure if cost of inflation, I get it. If I had to, if this was how I was putting food on the table, but for the most part, it's not. So I'm not sure how we, I get what you're saying, Councilor Zob, as far as then I'd rather have those little increases than that you don't do anything for a decade and all of a sudden it goes up considerably. But if that's generally the way other councils are doing it, I guess if that's the matter. But I'm just, to me, that price index kind of thing is usually for your like a union job or your main job. That's all I'm getting at. So.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Desmond?
Well, and I think it's important to also understand that while this isn't our full-time job, it still costs us money. You know, we're tramming up and down the highway and you know, taking time off of work to attend meetings and, you know, different things. And I know part of the remuneration policy is designed to help recoup some of those costs. So I think it's important that there is an increase, whether it's tied to consumer price index or if it's just a 0.5% annually or whatever that figure it works out to be. It's important to keep it so that, you know, it's like holding taxes for 5 years and then all of a sudden, bam, we got to make it up somewhere. So, but I don't know what that figure is. And personally, I mean, end of the term, let the next council come in and decide what they want to do. Right? Because we can sit here and say, we want to include some type of annual increase to it. And the next council could come in and say, well, it's not enough, or we don't need to, or any of that. Let them take care of it. It's nice to have the information to see where we're at so that it can be provided to a new council to say, hey, if you have questions about, you know, how we're coming up with the money, here's the information package. But so just my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay. And I think I remember when we were developing the remuneration policy and that we would intentionally be reviewing it before the election so that it wouldn't impose on, we wouldn't be benefiting by it per se. It would be the benefit of the next council. And we didn't want to impose that burden because it is a political hot potato sometimes when it comes to that. And so I know what you're saying too, Councillor Desmond, as far as, you know, the consistency of do they want to go with the inflation increase or that, I think for sure. But I think we have a responsibility to decide, at least for their first year, what that could look like, if anything.
And it's never a good time to pass a motion to give you a raise. Doesn't matter if you're coming in, going out, it doesn't matter. I think what's more important for this policy is to have something in place that it removes that decision making. It's not it doesn't turn into a political. So if this council decides that we will have a 1% increase just to cover a portion of the cost of inflation or whatever it is, then it's almost a set it and forget it. And if you want to review it once a term and see where we're at, I think that just takes away that whole political, whether people are trying to get reelected, whether people are running again, like it just takes that off the table. And then maybe halfway through the term, so in 2 years, if we make a decision pre-election and in 2 years' time, in the middle of an election or a term, open it up to have a look at it and say, hey, are we on the mark? Are we missing? What are we doing here? It's just more, it's a set it and forget it, look at it once every 4 years. And so
Yeah.
I agree, it's important to not lay it on them, but at the same time, it's never a good time to give us ourselves a raise. So
No, for sure. And I can appreciate adjusting the policy to just incorporate just a nominal amount every year based off of inflationary increase. I'm seeing a bunch of lights. We're going to stick on John's topic right now. So if anyone has comments related to what John was saying, do you want to just, or do you have something different, or is it in relation to what John had?
It follows the same
We'll start with
thought
Councilor Miller.
process. I agree with you, Madam Mayor, that I would like to see an increase. I'm gonna put myself back 3.5 years or almost 4 years ago. I would not liked to have faced this question as a rookie counselor. Would have made me pretty uncomfortable, and I think the optics are not good. Oh, here's a new counselor, never been elected before, fairly new to town, wants more money. And that's really not what this should be about. So I would support a small increase now, never mind inflation, forget about that. But maybe it's based on an average of what the other communities in the province are doing. So you have that information. It would be easy to determine what a reasonable average is. I will admit, I don't like the idea of remuneration per meeting attended, because I think there's so many other things that we do that aren't focused on attending a meeting. So long and the short of it is, I would support a fair and reasonable increase before the next council is sworn in. And that's based on my own personal experience with this council. Not really wanting to have had that discussion early on. I think that's just putting us all in a very uncomfortable position, in the optics of not good. Sorry, I know I'm repeating myself, but I think I'm agreeing and disagreeing with just about everybody here. So take what you can from that. Thank you.
No, I can really appreciate that perspective. Thank you for that, Councillor Miller. Councillor Mitchell?
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly that we need to, this council needs to have something in place, whatever it is. So Neil, as far as like the travel allowance and per diem, is that a provincial set, or do we set that? We set that.
No, you set those as well.
So when the cost of things go up, cost of fuel, the cost of all that, that's where you recoup that. Your mileage and all that, you don't recoup it in your salary. If you have to drive to Carson, you put it an expense. And that's, you recoup those costs there. So that's where I'm when it says that, like you say, the cost of being a counselor goes up, we recoup those costs. We recoup. If we have a meal on the road, we pay for it, we get so much. If we go to a meeting and it's over a half day, we get a half a day's per diem. I know it may not cover the cost of missing a day's work, but that's where we can maybe set the cost. If there is a cost of inflation, is you give a bit more per kilometer, you add more for a half a day or a full day. Is that one way to go about it?
You could go. about it.
Then by your own report, you're gonna be fine. Put a lot of kilometers on, but that to me is how you recoup the costs of being the cost of here tonight at 7 o'clock on a Monday. That's covered in our salary. So that's kind of, I'd like to see it that way. Then you, whatever cost you actually have, you're getting recouped from. Just a thought.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Neil?
I just wanted to make an additional comment that council's current policy is one of the more transparent policies around. Because that per meeting rate is, can arguably keep the bylaw or policy artificially low from the perspective of the public. If you go to the statement, the financial statements of these municipalities, and you see the total figures of remuneration in the financial statements, they're usually quite a lot higher than that base amount. And by taking the kind of lump approach, you're being fairly straightforward about what remuneration is.
Yeah, but we still submit,
Mm-hmm.
like, we still submit the
Yeah.
per diems and we still do that.
Yeah, but the meeting rate, I believe, is designed, and it perhaps works to encourage attendance, but that's something that maybe would come in if you felt it was necessary.
I'm wondering if we could have a request for decision drafted up just for us to work off of
Yeah.
what it could look like in
Sure.
the policy.
Can you give me a resolution for that?
Yep. Who would like to make a resolution? Counselor Miller, all in favor? Motion carries.
Next council.
It's the next council, sir. We'll see. All right, information brief on the community recognition wall.
Okay, so this is the update that council requested after committee of the whole in June. We've received a couple of quotes. Signcraft Digital, we've worked with them before, provided a quote that's within the budget that was approved. The proof below has been suggested as a starting point, and we do believe this will work. And we can work with Signcraft, the mayor, any other member of council that wants to wish with on further developing the proof into a final version. Because we're meeting so infrequently over the summer and council wants to see this get done, we think that's probably the best way forward. It's a very basic concept with a sign, the description of the program, and the plates on the wall, and the idea here is for the current award or the most recent awards with some more details on the side. But we know some refinement still needs to be made, but we think it can be done.
Anyone have any questions? Counselor Miller.
Maybe not so much a question as a couple of comments. First of all, I really like the idea of the community recognition. I think it's good to recognize those residents who are outstanding in terms of their commitment to the community. So to recognize them in some way, shape, or form is something that I like. What I don't like is this format. Unfortunately, this wall straddles two stairwells, and it's an area during a function that's busy. There's a lot of traffic there. There's a bench there. People are sitting on the bench because that's what it's for. And so if you want to walk up to the recognition plaques and read them, and people are sitting in the bench, A, you can't get close enough to them. And B, even if there's nobody sitting in the bench, you still have to lean over the bench. And for those of us who have senior eyes, makes it hard to read. So while I, once again, really like the program, I don't like the location for reasons I just stated. I'd like us to find a place where you can walk right up to it, have a look at it, read it without having to bring your reader glasses with you. And there's clutter. There's the panel, the electrical panel, there's switches, there's a bench, there's people sitting there. So I, for one, don't like this location. Love the idea, don't like the location. Thank you.
Okay. And I think like administration has extended the invitation for members of council to maybe just sit down and and discuss this more fully to figure out what it could actually look like. So maybe we'll just arrange to have a meeting with Neil and kind of discuss in a little bit more detail what the options could be.
Sure.
Okay. Any other comments, Councillor Dustin?
This is bringing back PTSD for me, something terrible. This is like building cardboard frickin' garbage and recycling cans for downtown because we can't wrap our heads around what it's gonna look like. So, I mean, I think it's very important that we sit down with you guys as administration to sort out what it is that your guys' vision of how this works, because to me, I see this sitting outside, not at the community center. If you're putting a bench in front of it, you know, then it's got some more walk around and some workability around it. Like, so we're going back and forth here, and some of us love it, some of us hate it, and it's the frickin' garbage cans all over again. Like, and forgive me for, there's two here that probably recall what I'm talking about, Parks and Recreation. It's like, we spent better part of a year going back and forth on stupid garbage cans and recycling cans for downtown Main Street. And this is what this is turning into. So we need to get a good idea of what it is that you guys have as a vision for this recognition wall, because I think there's lots of confusion here. I don't see this as being inside. I see it as being outside, what you wanted, and now, you know, yeah, bench in front of it, you can't walk up to it, like, we just gotta hash out a few details here, I think, so, I don't wanna see you guys waste a whole bunch of time on it. It's already been a whole bunch of wasted time. I'm starting to get the feeling. And it's starting to be a little bit of a contentious issue here between council and administration. So let's just cut the crap, sit down and see what your guys' vision of it is. And maybe we'll have the same. So, thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor Dustin, and I think that's what's gonna need to happen, is we'll just sit down and make sure we're all on the same page to some capacity, but ultimately a decision needs to be made, so, Councillor Saab.
Thank you. In consideration what Councillor Miller is saying, he wants it outside. Did we ever give it any thought to put it down at the visitor center? On a wall outside?
Yeah, I think maybe just send a meeting invite and we'll all just, anyone that's
Okay.
interested can sit down and we will hash it out and nobody leaves until it's sorted out and no, we'll get there, but I think we're getting closer, so bear with us.
Sorry. If we're going to have a meeting like that, could I ask that administration give us sort of their top 3, 5, 10, whatever number of locations that they think it would work? Because I recognize that administration staff are the ones that are gonna have to look after this and keep adding to it. So it's going to outlive this council. And rather than us say, well, how about the Vic, or how about Bomber Command, or how about that tree in the park? I would like for us to initiate a meeting where you say, here's several locations where administration and operations could work with it. Rather than us try to reinvent the whole idea, if you will. And I recognize that we're going around and around on this. And if we start out a meeting with several recommended locations, I think we can resolve this a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently.
Well, yes, and the budget also needs to be confirmed. Doing it outside could cost 2 to 3 times as much
So bring that to
than
the
doing it
table,
indoors.
right? That's all I'm asking.
All right. Look for your calendar invites and those that are interested in fleshing this out will attend and we will get to the bottom of it. All right, we'll move on to request for decision regarding the 2025 municipal election. Carolyn?
Sure. So we just have a few more resolutions that we have to do before the municipal election coming up. As the returning officer, I was looking at kind of what we'd want to do. In the past, there had been an institutional vote at the Silver Willow Lodge, but that didn't allow for an advanced vote, is what I had heard from some residents. So in order to incorporate both, we were thinking of doing an advanced vote and have it closer to the Silver Willow Lodge or at the Silver Willow Lodge. I'm in talks with them right now to see if we could kill two birds with one stone essentially and save costs on workers, because we don't want to pay for workers for an advanced and for an institutional. So I have put in there that we would like to do an advanced vote. The date is still to be determined, but that doesn't need to be part of your resolution. And then the other part was we have to cancel the meeting on the day of the vote. Because we did that before they had announced the day of the election. So I just need 2 resolutions for those to do some housekeeping items.
Does anyone have any questions, comments? Not seeing any. Yeah, no, it just makes sense, of course. And I think last time, because we're in the thick of COVID, we didn't end up having an advanced poll. And that's why it was kept out of the Silver Willow Lodge as well, was it was just meant for the residents as opposed to bringing in general public, if I recall.
Yeah. And just to let you know, we did enter into an agreement with LRSD just to help them with their vote a little bit with some assistance. They're going to be doing a majority of it as well. And MD of Willow Creek will also be in the community center for the main vote day. So we will have residents directed upstairs and downstairs to utilize both so people can get their voting done in one location. It might make it a bit busier, but hopefully with good signage, we'll get everybody going where they need to.
Okay. All right, the first motion, move that council authorize the returning officer to hold one or more advance poll for the 2025 municipal election in accordance with Section 73(2) of the Local Authorities Election Act. Who would like to make that motion? Councillor Saab. All in favor? Motion carries. Move that the regular meeting of council scheduled for Monday, October 20th, 2025 be cancelled in accordance with Section 1933 of the Municipal Government Act due to the municipal election being held on that date. Who would like to make that motion? Councillor Mitchell. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, the next thing we have is a policy on the request for decision on decorative crosswalks. Neil.
So the purpose here is to obtain council's approval for a decorative crosswalk policy, which establishes a process for reviewing and approving the same. On June 16th, the Nanton Legion presented a request to install a decorative crosswalk. Following that request, council directed myself to have administration bring forward community art policy. In response, for the time being, we've developed a decorative crosswalk policy. If council's looking for something broader than that, we can certainly oblige, but dealing with the more immediate issue, we believe this is a practical response to the Legion's request. We hope that will work, and we've roughly modelled it on the town of High Rivers approach with some slight differences for our size and operations. It outlines how proposals are to be submitted and reviewed, clarifies approval authority, safety design considerations, assigns responsibility for installation, maintenance and removal, and ensures designs are inclusive, community orientated and aligned with municipal values. Public Works, their primary concern is having a degree of control over installation and maintenance, even if the town isn't financially responsible for that, to make sure that it's done to an appropriate standard, so on and so forth. So we do recommend that it be approved, but this could be a bit of a discussion. We'll see.
All right, we'll open it up for conversation. Does anyone want to start us off or any questions? Councillor Miller?
Inasmuch as was a key proponent of having a policy, I do respect that what administration has done is given us a very specific policy for crosswalk artwork. I'm reluctant to call it artwork. It's crosswalk painting, whatever it is, whether it's logos or emblems or some other.
Decorative crosswalk and intersection is the name of the policy.
Thank you. And to that end, I support this, the policy, the way administration has written it. I think it's a good idea. I think the hoops that we're asking people to jump through are fair and reasonable. It's still subject to approvals, so I think it accomplishes what we set out to do in the first place, which was to have some kind of a policy that says, here's what you can and can't do, and here's what is appropriate and not appropriate. So I support this policy the way it's written.
Okay. Councillor Tosman?
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that it's putting the onus back on the groups or the people that want to do any type of decorative crosswalk design or implementation. So I think that deters a lot of people, right, from just wanting to splash whatever, wherever. So I appreciate that we're targeting a specific group of people that are interested in doing it, and we still have the authorization to accept or reject. So thank you for this.
Okay. All right, I'm hearing just positive comments. Who would like to make the motion to approve the policy as presented? Councillor Miller? All in favor? Motion carries. Thanks, guys. Okay, the addition to the agenda is this came in from the town of Hilton because they actually saw a few news segments about a net and business owner who was trying to open up daycare, and due to some funding changes from the province, was unable to open her daycare to the extent where she was ready. Everything was filled, it was ready to go. And she unfortunately had to cancel her plans. And so they've made a motion to Alberta municipalities and asked if Netton would be interested in seconding this. This did just come in on Friday. So I did ask for it to be added to the agenda. I will read the whereas, and then we can discuss it from there. So whereas access to stable, high-quality, affordable childcare is essential to families, municipalities, and the provincial and national economies. Whereas Alberta is working to support a community-based system of quality, regulated, early learning and childcare, aiming for all families to have access to high quality, affordable, flexible, and inclusive early learning and childcare, no matter where they live. Whereas municipalities across Alberta continue to face a childcare shortage, whereas Alberta has a unique system in which not-for-profit, public, and private for-profit operators play an important role in the delivery of high-quality, regulated childcare programs and services that Albertans value, and whereas eligibility for Alberta Affordability Grant has recently changed to limit which new for-profit spaces will receive the remaining funding allocation. It is therefore resolved that Alberta municipalities advocate for increased eligibility and funding for the Alberta Affordability Grant for licensed daycares to ensure better access to high-quality, affordable childcare in Alberta. So that's the resolution they're asking us to second. And I think given the recent experience from a business owner who had lineups to or signups to get into the daycare. There is a demand for it. And yeah, we'll put it out to council to see if we want to second this motion. Any questions, Councillor Miller?
I would certainly be one to second this. Obviously, it's been a long time since I've had kids who worry about daycare. But I certainly appreciate the need, especially for families where both parents are working. This is an essential service. This is not a luxury. It's a requirement, and I'm really disappointed in our senior government and the way this has been handled. So I absolutely would support seconding this resolution at AB Munis.
Any other questions, comments? No. Okay. So Councillor Miller has moved that the town of Nanton second the motion made by the town of Hilton to be sent to Alberta municipalities as read. All in favor? Against? Hinton. What did I say? Hilton. Okay. You all knew what I meant. Okay. Motion carries. Thanks, everyone. Okay, item 6.2.1, a correspondence about herbicide use in Nanton. And item 6.2.2, correspondence regarding the participation initiative, which I'm sure we'll hear lots more in September, and hopefully we can go full bore in 2026 with this initiative. Councillor
Yeah.
Mitchell, I know
Well,
you were a
I
big
just-
part of this.
I want to give my administrator, Val Robinson at the golf course, full kudos because she reported all the rounds of golf,
Incredible.
whether you were from your, so that's why we jumped up as high as we did. So, but the people were out playing, so, which is good.
Yeah, I know that.
It was just she goes, I can do this real quick. So they're pretty good.
Amazing. And I know the golf course was a big part of it. And it was kind of an initiative that, well, it's not kind of, it was presented to a few organizations in February and March. And it just gained so much momentum. And of course, the Citizen Initiative with Julie Barker, who took this on. And yeah, if we can do this with really little to no promotion, imagine what we can do next year. So I know we're still in the race, and announcements will come out, I believe, in the next month or so. And she submitted the whole package. So we will see what comes. But thank you to everyone that participated in that. Okay. It was moved at 8:08 to hold closed confidential session pursuant to section 1972 of the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26, and the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act as follows. Land matters, ATIA Section 19, disclosure harmful to business interest of a third party, and Section 29, advice from officials. 7.2 Municipal Enforcement, ATIA Section 29, advice from officials. Who'd like to make the motion to go into closed? Councillor Mitchell, all in favor? Motion carries.